Good day and welcome in this second DCS video tutorial of the magnificent Mirage 2000 Charlie. Today I will talk about the INU, for Inertial Navigation Unit. We will see, I hope, that it's the most important part of the aircraft. Also, we will talk about the three most important instruments, the HSI, the PSM, and the PCM. So let's get inside the cockpit first. So first, what is the INU? Well, the INU has three functions. First, to collect data, such as the air pressure, the air temperature, the heading, the position of the nose, am I going down, up, am I moving, such a thing like that. How does it collect data? Simply, we have gyroscopes and compass. Well, actually, I'm not talking about those gyroscopes. Those are displays. It has the INU has its own gyroscopes inside the aircraft. We do not have them inside. We also have the pitot, like this one, or we also have one here that takes air from the exterior of the aircraft to well, just like I said, to know what is the temperature, the air pressure, the air velocity, etc. Second function, to calculate. For example, if I have a position, my actual position, and if I know my speed, if I know my direction, I will be allowed to know my new position. My new position if my speed doesn't change, for example, in few minutes, etc., etc. It's very useful in navigation, as you understand. And third, it displays informations. So, information such as the G, the angle of attack, the gyro, the speed, the altitude, etc., etc., etc. So it's probably the most important part of the aircraft. Also, the INU is linked with different kind of other instruments like the radar, because, for example, when I use my radar, I have a scan zone, and the position of the scan zone and the altitude displayed to know what am I actually scanning will be depending on of the INU. So now let's move a bit forward, because I won't talk about instruments very common like the angle of attack, the G, the speed, etc., etc. But I'm going to explain you a bit more about the HSI first. So the HSI is composed first with a compass. We have here a green arrow. This green arrow, we will talk about it when I will talk about the autopilot. It commands simply the heading to hold. We have here a few numbers indicator. We have also a red flag indicating that it's not functional. We have also flags. This one is for the, if my memory is good, thin needle, which means thin needle is not working. This one is for the large needle here. We have the large needle here and the thin one here. And we have the red flag here indicating that the compass is not working. Here we have two knobs, one here on the left which is only used for the VAD here. I will just describe this function in a few seconds, and we have this knob here that allows us to select the different functions. So let's go here. We have functions for before I will talk about the needles. The large needle will show the heading depending on the different modes we have. So I will explain in different modes the role of this needle. The thin needle, except for this one, which is a specific mode, I will just give you a few words about it. It's not functional for DCS now. A thin needle will always display the position of the VOR beacon. So let's go. Now we are here on CV-nav. It's simply the navigation mode for the true heading. So we have a difference between the true heading and the magnetic one. For example, on the Caucasus we have 6.2 degrees of difference between the true and the magnetic north. If my memory is good, it's 12 or maybe 14 degrees in NTTR. Anyway, so actually we have the navigation displayed in true north. What it means my large needle will show me the waypoint bearing, and here we have the range to the next waypoint. All these modes here will be now set in magnetic. So here we have the navigation in magnetic. It is exactly the same thing for the needles and the range, but we will have the compass set in magnetic. Here is the TACAN. So now I will have my large needle showing the TACAN beacon, and I will here have the range to the TACAN beacon. Now this function VAD, as I just told you before, with this rotator, this function will depend of the set of the next two functions. So VAD in French, vector additionnel. In English it's very easy, additional vector. What it is, when you have a TACAN beacon, you can set with this function an offset of the beacon, of the TACAN beacon. So first you have to set parameters on these two functions. The first function here, it looks like a P, but it's not. It's the Greek letter Rho, which is the range. So you just go to this section, and you, with the rotator, you increase or decrease the range you want for this offset. Here you have the Greek letter theta, and you set here the bearing for the offset. And now you just go back to the VAD position, and you will have a new position. So the large needle will show you the range and the heading to follow to reach the offset. And last, we have here a function. So as I said, it's not functional for now on DCS. It's in French, téléaffichage. It's a data link, simply. A data link between the GCI or the AWACS and the aircraft. It's not functional. I'm quite sure we didn't even have it on the prototype, but I'm sure at 100% none of the Mirage 2000 in the world had this function. Mirage 2000 Charlie, I mean. So, that's all for the HSI for now. We are going now to talk about the PSM. Give me a second. Right, perfect. So, the PSM, we have here two knobs. One here on the right, one here on the left. On the right here, this knob will select the function of the PCN. Those two knobs will set different functions of the PCN. We will just see the PCN in a few minutes. So, first, this knob on the right, we have here the normal position, normal functions. Here, STS for status. It will display the status of the lineup function. You have to line up the INU. I will explain you why, and I will explain you how in another video, but for now this function will show you the status. Here, DCI for in French, données codées inertielles. It only display information about the data that are set in the random, not in the active memory, but in the ROM. I don't remember what it means, but anyway, I'm not sure at 100% about what I'm talking about because well, I have no information in my manuals about it, so just note that it's not in DCS, it's not functional. Here, CRV for compte rendu de vol, simply after action report. It's only used for the maintenance, and here we have the maintenance function. Now, the knob. Here on the left, we have few different positions. Here is the stop position, as it's the stop position for the PCN. Here is the veille, in French, standby. Here is the calibration. It will it's used only for the maintenance to set a few parameters inside the INU. Here is the test position. Here is the lineup position. Here is the lineup position with memorized heading. I will just explain you in a few seconds the difference between the two modes. Here is the nav position, and here is the emergency position. Emergency, as usual, as most of the functions inside the aircraft, it's a degrade mode. You will not have access to all the INU functions. So, what is the difference between those two modes? Well, first I have to explain you why you have to line up the INU. As I said, you have gyroscopes inside the INU. And you have to line it up, which means the INU have to first to calculate what is the position, the exact position of your aircraft on the Earth. To do so, you have to enter coordinates first. The coordinates of the position of your aircraft. We'll see that when I will explain you how to line up the aircraft, and you have to wait until the aircraft, the INU, has perfectly set the position of your aircraft. That's the lineup function, ALN, in French, alignement. Now, these functions, alignement sur cap mémorisé. These functions is used in DCS when you have first complete a lineup function. you take off, you do your mission, you do your job, you come back at an airbase and you rearm. The simple fact to rearm that will change your payload, the weight of your aircraft. So you have to make another lineup. But this function, the main lineup function, it takes 8 minutes to be completely lined up at the first class. I will just explain you what is the class in a few seconds. So you just have to wait 8 minutes. This functions is only used when you already have lined up before the aircraft, and this functions takes only 1 minute and 30 seconds. So I just talked about the class. So there is 4 lineup class. 4, 3, 2, 1. The first class is the most precise one. So when you start to line up the INU, it will take 4 minutes and 20 seconds to get on the class 4. It takes 80 seconds to go from class 4 to class 3. It takes also 80 seconds to go to class 322, and it will take 1 minute, 60 seconds to go to class 1. So if you add all the different classes, it will take 8 minutes. Now, as I said, the lower the class is, the preciser it is. Here we have a switch 3 position. It's the emergency compass. So by default it's off, which means even if your main compass is down, you will not have any backup. Here is the normal position. If the INU detects a failure for any reason, it will take the data coming from the backup compass. And here is the on position. The emergency compass will overpass the main INU compass, simply. So you just have to switch on this position by default. Now, last but not least, probably the most complicated instrument inside the cockpit, inside the Mirage 1000, let's talk about the PCN. So, just before, I will provide power inside the aircraft, and I'm going to set it on test. I mean, right now. So, I just switched the battery on, and I set here the PSM on test and on normal position. So, let's go. On top first, on the top left here, I have a screen that will display informations. The informations displayed on the left or on the right screen here will depend on the different modes I will select. Different modes of the PCN will be selected by this rotator here. Actually, the first mode is TRVS, in French, temps restant vitesse sol, so time left to reach the next navigation point, and ground speed, simply. As you can see, there is some dashes, if my memory is good. Dashes, or maybe it's slash in French, but maybe it's dashes. Anyway, this little symbol here, we also have here one after the D, one after the CP, etc. Which means on the screens, TR will be displayed on the left screen, VS will be displayed on the right screen. So there is many functions that has this, so we will just talk about it in another video. Now, next mode, DVFV, in French, direction vent, force vent, in English, wind direction, wind speed. The aircraft is able to set, to display the wind and the wind direction and the wind speed. Actually, it's not functional in DCS, by the way. Here, deck for declination, it's simply the magnetic declinations between the true north and the magnetic north. Here we have the bad function. And if you have Michael Jackson's song in your mind, you know you're good. We will talk about these functions later. Just a few words. Like the V80, it's an offset, but right now it's an offset set with reference a waypoint, and it's used for air-to-ground assets. Here you have RDTD, route désirée, temps désiré, which is route and routes to join next waypoint. We could say even heading requested to join next waypoint, and time to join next waypoint. So actually it's not functional in DCS, but you can select heading to join the next waypoint and time until a countdown. Simple, you just select a countdown to join the next waypoint. So as I said, it's not functional for now. We will see that when it will be functional. Here, so we have in French but. In English, it's birds, but anyway. If I had a T here, it's more interesting if we talk about the beautiful chicks. Anyway, I know we are not in the Navy. So it's simply the waypoint in French. But it's the waypoint. So you set here the waypoint, and here you set the offset of the waypoint. We have the coordinates first of the waypoint, the altitude of the waypoint, and this functions CP PD, CP cap de piste, PD pente désirée. It's simply to set the synthetic runway. Actually, it's also not functional. You just have to set as waypoint the closest part of the runway. You have to set the altitude, and you have next to set the QFU of the runway, which is the exact heading of the runway, and you have to set the glide path, which is 3 degrees or 5 degrees, no more, no less. And that's all. You have a tentative runway. As I said, it's not functional for now. Here we have DRLT for direction relèvement. Simply, it's the rho and theta, the two Greek letters, range and bearing. It's simply range and bearing for the next waypoint, simply. So let's continue. we have here a knob that is not functional for the light position of the intensity of the light of the instrument. We have here two buttons, prep and dest. Simply here left you select the waypoint you are going to modify or you are going to display on the PCN. On the right dest you select the waypoint you want to use for your navigation, which means this waypoint you select on dest will be displayed on your HSI and on your HUD. The number of the waypoint is displayed on the top here. So actually I'm on waypoint 1, and here prep 0 is simply the position of my own aircraft that will be displayed in the instruments. Of course I cannot set dest 0 because I can only display information relative to my aircraft. I cannot use it for navigation. Here we have ENC. I can't remember what it is, what it means, but this function is when it's enabled, it automatically switch to the next waypoint when you reach your waypoint. What it means? For example, you have two navigation points. You are getting close to the first one. When you are going shorter than 2 nautical miles away from the first waypoint, it will automatically switch to the next waypoint, the second waypoint. When this function is off, the navigation will not switch to the next waypoint. Here you activate the offset simply. So bad here, when you click on it, it will activate the offset. Here, rec, it's not a record function. It's in French recalage. It's simply to update and correct the position of the aircraft. To understand what is this function, I have to explain you what is a drift. So as I said in the beginning of the video, I explained you that the functions of the INU is to collect and to calculate. For example, it calculates the speed of the aircraft using the air density, the air velocity, and the air temperature. But as you can clearly or maybe clearly understand, it's imprecise. It's clearly imprecise. And due to this kind of imprecisions, there will be a drift between the real position and the position the aircraft thinks it is. So that's we call the drift. And for example, the A10 Charlie has an automatic system that will make an update by satellite, GPS. We do not have this in the Mirage 2000. So you have to make updates manually, and I will explain you in another video how to do so. Here is this is a rec function. You can, it's in French, marquage. You can mark positions. You can mark 3 positions. 3 positions of interest. Simply, it's used for recon assets. So if you have to recon something and visually you have, for example, troopers on ground, any movements, and you have to record the position, you just have to select this function. Here is to validation in French, valider, which is simply the enter functions of your keyboard. Depending on the different functions you just set, this will enter for example, if you are selecting the rec function, when you press val, it will select the new position. Same here, when you select the mark here, when you select val, it will it will record the coordinates at you are at this moment. On here, on the top here, we have few indications. First, Mike 91, Mike 92, 93 are the three coordinates you can mark here. So when you have one green, it's when you have, for example, Mike 91, it's just show you that you have already marked one position. Here, prêt in French, it's simply a ready position. It's used for the lineup function. Here, ALN, it's also for the lineup function. MIP, it's used for the entry of data. When, for example, you are a real pilot, you prepare your flight plan. You take the data, you copy and paste the data on something like USB key or something like that, and you get in the aircraft, you plug the USB key inside the aircraft, and you can paste the data inside the aircraft. That's the MIP functions. Here, NDEG, it's simply an information that the INU will not be fully operational, and there is a high risk of to increase the drift. It appears, for example, when you rearm the aircraft after your lineup. And here is the emergency function. It just shows you that you are actually working with the emergency function. Now, let's just finish with the keyboard. You have actually simple numbers, 1, 2, 3, etc. until 0. You have here north, south, east, history, west, and you also have plus and minus for each screen. And on the next video, I will explain you how to use this PCN. And at last, you have here a button to erase the data you just are going to modify, and here insert, it's simply to set the information you just select. And that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this video. On the next part, I will show you how to line up the INU properly. If you have any question, just let me know, feel free to ask. If you have any comment to improve my videos, also feel free to share your opinion. And until next time, fly safe, pilots.